Joining us this morning, Senator Jim Munson is here. Good day, sir. How are you?
Good day. Good morning.
Bobby White's also here from the Canadian Paraplegic Association, the executive director. Bobby, is it officially the Spinal Cord Injury Canada now?
It will be official next week.
Why the change? Why do you want to do that?
Basically what's happening is that we've done an operational review, we've changed our business plan, we've changed our way of looking at things, and we feel that it's more inclusive. Spinal cord injury, whenever it was brought in, it was the World War II veterans that brought it in.
Yeah.
In those days, basically, quadriplegics didn't survive simply because they didn't have the technology or the medicine and stuff like this here to help them in that way. We had a lot of advancements over the years, and now what we're trying to do is just to be more inclusive, include quadriplegia, all other injuries in the middle. But we also work with other physical disabilities as well. So we're going spinal cord injury, but we're remaining true to our mission statement to say that we do spinal cord injury and other physical disabilities. But our main mandate is spinal cord injury.
Yeah. The two fellows from Bathurst here on the couch.
Well, as you know, there's no shore like the North Shore in northern New Brunswick.
You're right.
People in the valley and in Ottawa some would know that.
They would know what's going on.
Yeah.
You've been involved in, well, it's a day where, and I've done it too, where you operate in a wheelchair for the day. Yeah. And my friend, it is no easy task.
It is no easy task on one level, on the physical level. I'd never been so tired in my life, but I kept thinking of those who were doing it every day, 365 days of the year for the rest of their lives. And but what I found, not only the navigating Parliament and navigating some of the streets of Ottawa, but the emotional navigation that you had to go through, as you have to go through each and every day, Bobby. And it's this. You're rolling along, you're doing your thing, you're down the corridors of Parliament, you're trying to get through some doors which are not accessible, and all of a sudden somebody stops and looks at you and saying, oh my goodness, what happened to you? And then you have others who take a look at you and say, they think, my goodness, I'm glad I'm not like that.
Yeah.
So there's that pity part of it all, and you want to jump up and say, no, no, this is just for a day. But really, when you stop and think about what you're doing in terms of awareness, Bobby and Kirk, about this, is that there are, 86,000 people with spinal cord injuries in this country? And the biggest issue for me, and from my perspective, in my kind of work, is that 62% of people with spinal cord injuries don't work. They're unemployed, 62%, and they're quite employable. So it's one thing to be going around for a day as a politician doing what you have to do.
Why are they unemployed?
Well, I think it's a whole aspect depending on the level of their injury and stuff like this here.
Right.
But it's a question also of being accepted into the community again.
That's the problem.
That's a big part
That's
of
the
the
problem. And accessibility is another issue. However, you can always get around that. You can't always get around people's perceptions of you and how they treat you.
Well, of course not. I mean, simply getting up onto the hill. Driving just down here today to do this interview, it's one thing to be bumping along the city streets here, and some of them. Carling Avenue is just wonderful between Bronson and all the way down. I mean, that is. But try going down the sidewalk.
Yeah.
I think we have a message here for the mayor to have his people as well.
The Renews Highway is smoother.
And take a and the Renews Highway is in New Brunswick. It's one of the great two-lane highways of all time.
That's right. That's right. Listen, when's the day coming up, and when's it all taking place?
The next Wednesday, May 2nd.
Right.
On the Hill between 8 a.m. and 6 p.m.
It's a real good chance for people to understand what accessibility is all about. And when I talk about accessibility, one thing that struck me when you talk about the emotional strain, trying to figure out how you're going to get somewhere is stressful. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
When you're in a wheelchair, be it motorized or physically operated, just thinking about how am I going to get to where I need to go?
Well, I hate to be somebody coming to do an interview, not here, this is quite accessible, and I like that. But the National Press Building on Wellington Street, famous building, it's closed. The front doors are closed for the next 2 years. You now have to go in off Spark Street through another building, through these mechanized doors. Well, if you're in a wheelchair, mechanized or not, your own wheelchair through mechanized doors, you better have a battering ram to get through there. Yet Public Works says the specifications work, it's all okay. Well, I like to put a Public Works official in a wheelchair to try to go in and try to do an interview with somebody in the National Press Corps or Canadian Press. It's very difficult. It's there's things that we take for granted and so difficult for those in chairs.
Gentlemen, thanks for your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Enjoy the day next week. Are you doing it again?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. It's a tough one.
I know.
8:14. This is CTV Morning Live.